Happy Friday, everyone. It's Invisible Walls, episode 115, taking you right into your weekend with some video game love. I'm Shane Satterfield, host of the show, and today we have an all-star lineup, a little smaller from the last couple weeks. Definitely saw some of your complaints about the audio quality, which I'm honestly not hearing at home. It's like I have just a two-speaker setup at home, and our audio seems to be okay. Miguel, you were a little low last week, but otherwise I think the audio's been all right. Maybe some of you folks are listening on, I don't know, like 5.1 headphones, or
maybe it's their ears. I don't know.
You said we have a wealthy demographic.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but we're not just going to immediately assume that it's your setup. So we have cut it down. We have 5 people on the show today instead of the 50 it seemed like we had in the last couple of weeks. And here to talk to you about all the hot topics, Patrick Morales.
Hello, internets.
Miguel Lopez.
Hello.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Yo.
And Brooks Huber.
What's going on, guys?
We have a lot of good stuff to talk about. The post-E3 hangover, I think, is officially over. Lots of big news breaking. We don't have a lot of time to do it all, so let's get right to it.
Reveal yourself, deceiver.
All right, first we're going to talk about a big announcement that Blizzard made today. Now, we record this show on Wednesdays, so it will be a couple days later by the time you guys see and hear the show. Basically, what Blizzard announced today is that on its forums, from now on, people's real names are going to be displayed when they post something instead of their alias that they use on Battle.net. Now, I'm going to start off by saying I think this is one of the greatest ideas in the history of the internet.
You can't be anonymous anymore, really.
Yes, you cannot be a douchebag on the internet. Well, at least on Blizzard's internet. Now, I'm getting sly looks from the guys here. Some people here feel it's not a good idea. So Patrick, why don't you start and explain why you think it's not a good idea?
Well, besides averting, people that may act like a troll on the forums, I think it just it's a huge privacy concern, right? Because you're showing your real name on the forums now rather than an alias, and of course that'll stop people from being trolls. But then, what about, kids and, women that might get stalked or something like that?
Right, but on most message boards, you need to be an adult to sign up, or you need to have your parents' permission to sign up.
That's true. And with regards to kids, they're actually implementing a safeguard there, now that I think of it, where you cannot sign up, if you're a minor, you can't sign up for an account without a parent's consent.
Right.
And it shows their parent's name there, so kids are covered.
But I think that's still, that's under 13, though, is what they consider a kid.
Yeah, so there's that. Plus, what about women, too? There might be, stalkers online that might be crafty enough to stalk, female posters that, post on the forum.
That's true, yeah. I could see how women might not feel as secure posting and participating in these conversations. But I think it's generally anybody who fears harassment.
Someone tell me, what do you really think people care enough to stalk somebody, harass somebody? Sure. If someone wants to stalk somebody, they don't need to go on the internet to find their name to stalk them.
Right. I think stalking is kind of like the most sensational possibility here.
And I think the extreme possibility.
I think more likely it's going to be harassment, right? Like you're going to be on those message boards, you're going to post something that somebody disagrees with, and then all of a sudden they're going to be dredging up your Facebook profile, making fun of the music you like. If you have certain
Are they going to do that? Because let me just qualify this and let you know that I have never been anonymous on the internet. Every message board I post in, I use my real name. On game trailers, I use my real name. And I say shit that pisses people off on a weekly basis. I've seen people write, I'm going to effing kill you. I'm going to come there and beat you in the head with the baseball bat. I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that to you. Nothing's ever happened, dude.
You do hear the stories, though, right? The shit that gets on Inside Edition of people getting bullied and harassed on the internet. Right,
but see, when you're no longer anonymous, you can't get away with that. The bullies can no longer do it because you know who they are.
Well, no, the bullies could just be somebody lurking, right? The bully doesn't have to necessarily be contributing to the conversation. They could just be somebody hanging around.
It's not going to happen. People aren't that motivated. That's the thing. They think they're tough. They think they're bad when they can sit there behind a fake name and say shit and nobody knows who they are.
I don't.
It's their face and their name on the line. You'd be really surprised how quickly people turn.
Here's the problem, though. Because I've had people have had to deal with cyber stalker issues and people breaking into their computers and all that stuff. The thing is, it's once that stuff starts happening, there's almost like, unless you're a computer expert yourself, there's nothing you can do to like keep it from happening to you, because the police can't do jack unless they have the guy there sitting in front of the computer.
Well, I don't believe that at all.
This is from a friend who's a
Look,
police
I know
officer who's
people
had
who-
this stuff he's had to deal with.
Look, I know people who are television personalities, beautiful television personalities, who've been stalked. People have sent them crazy gifts. It's not that hard to stop it. Trust me, it can be stopped. And if you have any motivation to do it, it will be stopped. And again, it is such a small percentage of people. I think we need to look at the better good here, which is honestly cleaning up the frickin' internet. Like, dude, our comments on our website, and look, to those of you who post and you're straight up, this is not to you, but to the people who go on our site and just spout bullshit, I would love to put people's real names on GameTrailers.com. I would love it. It's embarrassing at times. Developers and publishers come to our site to see what the response is to their games. The way these people react, they act like they're 2 years old. Like, I would love to clean up our forums. I would love to clean up our comments so that it's actually a place where intelligent people, sure, you can still be passionate. You can still have a passion for something, but act like a freaking adult. Don't act like a little kid. I personally think that this is the way the whole internet should be.
Yeah, I actually don't disagree with you. I think it's admirable that Blizzard is trying to do this again. It's kind of going against the grain, right? Like, the outcry has been insane. People, at least the loudest people on their forums, are just spewing piss and vinegar
And
about
guess
this.
what? Those are probably the same people who are complete asswipes on those forums every day. They're the people who they're looking back over their history and they're like, oh my God. If my post history comes out and people realize who I am, I'm in freaking trouble.
Well, no, they said that it's not going to be retroactive,
Right,
and at least on WoW, this is not going to go down until Cataclysm happens. So you got a few months to be a level 1 troll if you want to do that.
I mean, answer me this. To somebody who is a responsible person, who doesn't act like a moron on the internet, what is the danger? There is none. I've been myself on the internet since the internet started. And like I said, I piss people off all the time. Nothing has ever happened to me. I'll give you my gamer tag right now. It's Dinfire. What are you going to do? I don't care.
Friend request.
I mean, literally.
No,
like,
you know what? I mean, I agree with you that it's admirable that they're trying to elevate the discourse and all that, but I understand people's concerns, and I'm curious
it's
to
like
see.
it's grown-up time is basically what it's saying. It's like, look,
Sure.
little kids, if you're going to act like an imbecile and a moron, get the fuck out.
Right.
And that's exactly how I feel. When you go out into the world every day, you're responsible for everything you say to every person you interact with. Why should the internet be any different? Why? Can anybody tell me why the internet should be different?
I have a hard time believing that just doing this is going to be enough to get rid of those people that are harassing
But you
people.
have to at least admit that it will cut down on it significantly and make those places a place that people like us want to go to
Right.
and interact with people.
And it's also the features that come along with this kind of thing. Like they're gonna introduce stuff like Dig and Reddit, where you can vote people up and down. And if someone has a history of being a prick, then that's gonna be immediately evident whenever they post. Their shit's gonna be grayed out or something like that.
I mean, most importantly to me, like, I would like to interact more with our community, like our real community, the people that just love games and don't just love games for the machine that they own. Like, they can look at it and say, there's great games for every machine and just want to talk about games, but I go in and I post on a forum and it's like, shameful Xbox.
Isn't there like a little part of you that kind of likes to read that shit?
No, I don't. Why would I like to read that drivel? Like, why would I read that and enjoy that? Why do you enjoy it?
I don't know. I guess I'm one of them in a sense, in a little part of me.
Do you do that? Do you go on forums and do you? Any of you guys? Because you guys are kind of defensive about this. I'm starting to wonder about you guys at this point.
They're afraid.
We're all undercover trolls.
Well, I mean, there have definitely been times when I've gone and derailed threads.
Well, then you need to clean up your act. I mean, that's all there is to
No,
it.
I
You
mean,
should be doing
it's a
it.
bad thread to begin with. So, like, let's just like send it off the deep end, you know, and just
But you post with your real name on GT.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
I
do-
mean,
I do
like,
too.
especially. I mean, I think the thing that sticks in my mind mostly is just how much female gamers get harassed just because people know they're female.
But I think another thing that might happen too is I think the reason they get harassed because they're females is because we're under the impression that we're all guys. And when you find out, oh my God, there's one girl, all the dudes gravitate to them. Like, oh my gosh, I could have a gamer girlfriend. That would be the best thing ever. I think when all this is exposed, you're going to start to realize there's a lot more girl gamers than you think there are. And if there's that huge cross section of them, then suddenly they don't become this thing you put on a pedestal and you go after, because there's so many of them.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's gonna definitely skew the perception of who gamers are. You know, you're gonna see a lot of names that you typically wouldn't imagine. You're gonna see Spanish names posting a lot. You know, all of a sudden it's gonna reveal this kind of diversity. And
I just think it
that's
would be
cool.
awesome.
How are
To
they
me,
going to
it's-
exactly enforce this and make sure people are using their actual names?
No, I mean,
It's
it's
tied-
their
It's
account.
tied to
Through
your
their
account.
account.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it.
You-
But like with forums like a GT and stuff, there's no way we could really.
Well,
physically do
it
that.
would have to be a change on that level to do it.
And it's only the names that's getting out there. It's not like personal information
No.
or anything like that. Not even age when you guys were talking about kids or
No.
anything.
I mean, the nature of privacy is it's a personal thing, and I mean, everybody has their own comforts.
Right.
And I think that to me is kind of the big thing. It's like, if I don't want my name out there, I should
Then don't
have
join the
choice.
forum.
Yeah, I think
Then that is your choice to not join the forum.
that's exactly it. I think a lot of people are forgetting that this is a completely opt-in service.
Right.
Just because
It's- you don't have a right to
Yeah.
use Blizzard's message board. They're giving it to you as a service for free.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't have to post on the forums and get your name out there if you don't want it to.
Right. You can just go play your game and interact inside the game. I mean, I don't know. I still haven't heard a convincing argument of why this is a bad thing.
Right. Well, the one thing that I would be impressed by, even above and beyond what this could do to the tone of the message boards, is if they get more strict about policing what kids say in game, because that's where the real foul shit goes on. You know, you just see them dropping all kinds of slurs and epithets, and it's the same on Xbox Live. You know,
It's true.
Yeah. So if there's a way to sort of maneuver this into a more effective way to regulate that.
Unfortunately, when you're with that, you're dealing with speech. So
Right.
you would need like a live filter on their voice trying to censor things out.
Right. Well, even in WoW, it's chat too. You know, people just spam messed up shit in chat all the time. Like literally, you know, I play WoW on a big server, and it's, you know, if I want to just see that nonsense, I just look down into the trade channel, and all of a sudden, there it is.
Yeah, there's douchebags everywhere. I don't know why they wouldn't have a language filter on the chat in that game, though.
There is. You turn it on and off, but they're still saying it. You know, and you still know what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there's definitely no doubt about it. There's a lot of freaking douchebags out there, and unfortunately, they also tend to be the people who are most vocal. But I just think, in general, just a cleaning up of the internet is needed. I think it empowers people to do things, and I don't think these people even necessarily have it in them to act like this. I just think it empowers them to do it, and otherwise, maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they wouldn't be idiots on the internet if they didn't have the power to do it anonymously. So.
Right.
I just think it's a step in the right direction. I personally applaud Blizzard for being brave enough to do something like this. Obviously, their user base is huge and extremely passionate, so it really shows a lot of guts. I think what it also shows, too, is, you know, Blizzard's not going to do something like this without thinking about it for a long, long time. Doing research, figuring out what the cost benefit of it all is. Okay, we're going to lose some people in the community, but is it going to make the experience better, so much better for the rest of the community that it's worth it? And apparently they've done that analysis.
And it's
they've-
probably going to bring people back that have already like given up on the service.
Right,
And
or
they
people
said,
that
I don't
left
like
the forum
coming
'cause
here.
they're like, that's what's happened to me on GT. Like,
Yeah.
I will not post in our forum.
If you feel like you're being
because-
abused or the conversation's just never enlightening and you never want to go back, and then you hear about it getting cleaned up and now it's more, policed.
I think,
It would probably bring you
theoretically,
back.
you could reverse the polarity, right? Like
Yeah.
right now, it's a lot of the, the people who post less substantive stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people I know who play the games don't even go to the forums. They're trying to bring those people to the forums, and perhaps
And you know why they don't go?
because of that shit.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's a brave first step. I think we'll all be watching how this goes with Blizzard. Hopefully they don't buckle and change their mind with all the complaints they're getting from the forums. I fully believe that they've done their due diligence and have really researched this. And I'm definitely going to watch it very closely and see how it pans out for them. And maybe eventually someday that comes to game trailers.
Oh shit.
The tower will be home to the Borisov reactor. This powerful device will generate a singularity, An event horizon that will provide the Soviet Union with unlimited energy that is both clean and safe.
All right, so we already ate up a ton of time with the internet anonymity discussion. Next, we're going to move on to Singularity. We are reviewing up this week. Bloodworth, you reviewed the game.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I will say is that after watching the review, I felt like the game should have been better than it was. And granted, I've not played 1 second of the game. So it seems like there's all these cool powers in it, like all this cool stuff you can do, some things I haven't seen in other shooters, but you say that ultimately the other issues kind of weigh it down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to me, like, I felt like there's a lot of potential with it. And, like, once I got the TMD, immediately the first thing I was disappointed with it was just, like, this binary, like, new or old switch, you know? And right from there, it's like, you can kind of tell that it's not going to be as complex or as, like, mind-blowing as you think it could be.
Why would you say it's not as complex? It sounds to me almost like from your review that it all came down to the balancing. Like they didn't ramp up the challenge to match the new abilities that you were getting.
Yeah, I think that's it. There's maybe one enemy towards the end that was more of a challenge, and you fought him like twice. It was basically amounted to being a mini boss. But, you know, even at the very end, you're still fighting like the same, you know, soldiers and creatures that you know exactly how to deal with. And they don't really have a lot that can counteract your powers, you know. So it's just like you throw a big bubble down, slow them all down, and flank them and shoot them in the back, and you're done with it, and you just keep moving on, and you get to the end real quick.
How often did you die in that game? A lot?
I don't know. I don't keep track of it. I did feel like it was, you know, getting fairly easy towards the middle of it.
Yeah.
And for the record, for everybody commenting, I don't play my games on easy. So.
Yeah. Well, none of us do, and
Yeah.
just so you guys know, the official rule here is that when we review a game, we play them on the default setting, which is normal.
Yeah.
We feel like that's what most people are going to play the game on when they crack open the jewel case and put it in their system. They're going to start on normal, and that's what we always review our games on. We never, ever review our games on easy.
Yeah, I think there have been some where we've boosted it up to higher or whatever with like Gears of War and stuff. But
Well, I think in that case we would still play it on normal, and then we would bump it up another difficulty setting to see if it actually changes. And that's my next question to you, actually, is do you think if people did bump up the difficulty in this game that it might be a better game?
it could be. Yeah, it's because that was definitely my main issue that, you know, dropped it down a little bit. You know, it's just towards the end it really felt like a cakewalk. The other thing that to me is, you know, there's just a lot of little things that kind of, you know, slow down the pacing. You know, it's like you're constantly just looting for ammo, and the audio logs, like you can't just pick them up and listen to them as you go. It's like, okay, here's an audio log, just stop and look at the textures around you until it finishes. So, you know, and like even if you just walk a few feet away, it starts getting too quiet to hear, so you have to walk back over towards it.
And just 2 multiplayer modes, that's what really struck me as well.
I don't think this game was planned to have multiplayer modes. I think that's what the delay was all about, because it's supposed to come out in the fall. And
It looks a heck of a lot like Wolfenstein.
well, I think the multiplayer looks like the freaking Gears Beast mode.
I just think the game in general looks like Wolfenstein.
Well, it's the same developer. It's on Unreal Engine. I mean, I think that, yeah, that's a lot to do with it.
What about the BioShock comparisons? Did you ever feel that way at all, looking through the game?
I didn't pick up on it, but now that people have said it,
Yeah.
you know, I definitely, I can see that. You know, it's like, okay, here's your upgrade station and things like that.
So it's not
I
necessarily
think if they
atmosphere.
had, even if they didn't have like a lot of the perks, like the game would have been more challenging. You know, because it's like, okay, you have your base powers, but then it's like, okay, we'll make this, you know, last longer and make your health last longer and let you pick up more health kits and all that, you know. And so when I was going through that final section, like I didn't even need any of the health kits. There were just health kits all over the place.
So you gave the game a decent score, 6.9. So it wasn't bad, wasn't great. Who would you recommend this to? It seems like there's a lot of discussion about the game. People are like, wow, this seems like it might be something different. Do you think it's worth it for people who are looking for something out of the ordinary to pick it up, or?
I mean, there's some different powers. I don't think it's as out of the ordinary as it seems. Like I said, like the puzzle just never really, like when you first get a new power, it's like, oh, this looks really cool. I wonder what they're going to do with it. What they do with it is basically the same thing
Over and over.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, you get a crate and, you know, you can like collapse it or expand it. And so you like collapse it, you shove it under a garage door and you expand it, and then you can go into the garage door. But then it doesn't really evolve much beyond that.
That's the shame. They never really worked like on depth with all the power-ups that they give you.
Yeah, and two, like I use the example in a review, like there's a safe, and like I literally like pointed at that safe and like saw if I could interact with it, and it was like, oh, I can't, and then I walk around and then, oh, here's a story point. Can you open the safe for me?
Right.
It's like I forgot the password or the code's not working or something goofy like that.
It almost seems like maybe it was supposed to be a bigger game than it ended up being. And they still wanted to keep all the powers in, so they left them in, but you never really got to the parts where they really started sort of tweaking the level design to work them out.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. It definitely has kind of a slow build up before you even get the powers. Like the first part of the game is very survival horror. Don't have a lot of weapons, a lot of ammo, and your weapons you do have aren't very good at shooting things.
So, rental, for those who are curious?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you want something to play, you know, definitely check it out. It's not a terrible game. If you can get into an online match and you want to see, you know, maybe get a taste of what beast mode might be like with Gears of War, I think that's pretty... Actually, I was surprised that it being as good as it was, even though that didn't use any kind of time powers whatsoever. But, yeah, decent game. Not great.
So I know we said E3 was over, or I said E3 was over, and we weren't going to talk about it again, but something's kind of been popping up over the last 7 days. It's a bit of a surprise to me, and I think probably to you guys too. It's Dance Central. The game has been getting lots of accolades post E3 from a lot of competing sites, winning lots of awards. It didn't really resonate with us that much. We gave it a nomination or two in our awards.
I think most of us were turned off after the on-stage presentation.
You know, to be fair, that's...
Are we missing the boat? Are we missing something here?
Do you guys dance, first of all?
I do, actually. But, you know, to be fair, like, that presentation was all I saw of it. You know, when I was at the show, I was just focused on doing my appointments, so I didn't have a chance to see it. So maybe there is something that I didn't know about it.
Yeah, I am a total dancer. I go out dancing at least once every other week or something like that. I almost look at it as like one of my ways of getting exercise. So I don't need a game to make me dance. And here's sort of some anecdotal, I don't know if it's evidence, so to speak, but you go to these events with all the other journalists, and there's always like a DJ or a band or something, and what do? They stand at the bar and drink, like
Awkwardly.
Right. You don't see these guys going out on the dance floor and dancing. So I'm surprised that this game resonated with them so much. Why do you think our impression of this game is so different from a lot of other people's?
Well, what are they doing?
Anyone
differently?
figured out?
I mean, when I first saw that it was Harmonix doing it, I mean...
That gave it a level of acceptableness. I don't think that's a word, but it almost made rationalize it. You're like, okay, well, this is probably going to be one of the best of breed, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, like, I haven't seen enough of it to say, like, what makes that different than what Konami's doing with Dance Masters?
Right.
The Dance Masters just get overlooked because, you know, they weren't in a press conference.
It could be the music, the dance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
the
sure
dance
the music
steps.
has a lot
I mean,
to
if
do
you
with
do
it.
remember, the one dance step Konami did was them like sitting on their knees and like flopping over like a dead fish.
Yeah, I'm sure having the maid costume with a guy playing probably didn't help. But I mean, as a game, like,
I mean, it's still a dancing game. Remember
Yeah.
Just Dance, which we've made fun of mercilessly on this show over and over again. That's been a huge hit for Ubisoft. In fact, it's probably Ubisoft's best-selling Wii game so far. So I can see where there's motivation to make this game for Kinect or Move or whatever.
and it was obvious from playing that it wasn't about how well you scored.
Right.
It's just about having fun, it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a level of it being kind of an instructive tool, right? From what I saw, it's actually going to teach you routines. And it's
But
gonna,
if you go out, okay, so if you go out and you start busting out one of these routines, like at a club or something, you're gonna look like an idiot.
Right,
Like,
but
people
it-
don't go out and do routines at clubs.
But it's not, it's not that kind of dance. I think it's more like choreographed shit, like the kind of stuff you do for a stage show or for a video. It's like that kind of thing. That's my impression anyway.
I could see the merit in that because it doesn't really it does show you how to do a complete routine, but it also breaks it down by individual moves, so at least it
Right.
kind of gives you a sense of the dancing vocabulary that's out there.
Right.
I guess to me, dancing is always a form of self-expression,
Right.
So sure, I get it. When you have the MTV Movie Awards or whatever, and you have 30 dancers on stage, like they all need to do their routine and they need to nail it or whatever, and they need to be all uniform and on beat with each other. But I mean, as far as recreational dancing is concerned, like it's a whole other kind of aesthetic. It seems like something like this takes the art out of dancing.
Right. I think it might be a generation gap thing. Like maybe we didn't see the same movies about those breakdancing crews.
No, dude, I grew up with those.
No, but I mean like the
breaking
new. There's one that I totally forget.
What,
What
High
it's
School
called.
Musical? What are you talking about?
That stuff, yeah, but there was I'm blanking on it. It's probably useless to bring it
Glee?
up. But there was a movie about
You got served.
You got served, yeah, that
Yeah.
thing. Like maybe.
But those are dance battles. Like those aren't like choreographed. Like 20 people. I think maybe they do it for a little bit, but ultimately it comes down to like the mano a mano battle,
freestyle.
where you like really flex your skills and your creativity.
Right.
And what I was getting at earlier is these Just Dance. It's been a hit, but pretty much all the journalists have agreed with us on that game that it's a piece of crap and not something that we're interested in. Why have core journalists suddenly sort of warmed up to Dance Central versus like a Just Dance? That's sort of the question I was trying to get at.
Right.
The connect factor.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think that that it does make a difference that this thing can actually see your body. Whereas I don't know what Just Dance was doing. It's like
just don't.
I mean, it's reading some motion in the Wii remote on one hand. And it's like, how does it care what the rest of what your body is doing? But
I guess maybe one thing I would say is that you can do this in the privacy of your home. You don't have to go out to a club and dance. You can do it in your house, and maybe it makes them feel okay about dancing.
Right. They could hide that shit when people come over.
And I can see actually as a workout type thing, it's probably more fun than doing aerobics, right?
Right. And also,
But again, it's like why are the core journalists latching onto it when they've sort of said no to games like this in the
Is it
past?
because beautiful women were demoing it on stage?
maybe
No.
maybe
I don't remember a beautiful
I don't
woman.
see that.
Somewhere.
I remember a really
Where's
awkward
this
white
perception coming
Yeah.
What about Harmonix's ability to flex and get an actual good catalog of music, relevant
helps.
music? I think that might be a big part of it.
Yeah, because I'm sure you're going to get all those weird like Japanese trance mixes with Konami's dancing game.
Right.
yeah.
That with full songs that people don't know. I just think it's been an interesting phenomenon, sort of watching people embrace this game versus all the other ones that have come before it, where they're like, "Oh, that's really not."
Yeah,
for
I
me."
feel like I'm missing something. It's like, what other depth does this have that I haven't seen?
I will say one thing at E3. I mean, most of the people I watched playing it were having fun playing it, but they were also more of like the financial analyst types. It wasn't like I saw like our brothers at Kotaku or GameSpot or IGN like getting down to it. It was always like the older folks or girls or whatever that seemed to be enjoying it the most. And of course, the people that demo it who put the big fake smile on. Ting. But yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon. It'll be interesting to see if our journalism community continues to sort of open the door a little bit to these types of games, and then if eventually that trickles down to our audiences and suddenly they're more open and accepting of games like this, it could be sort of the start of something different.
Right. And does this call for a video review in the sense that we're going to tape the person reviewing it when it comes out?
Bloodworth, you're already lined up for that one, brother. We've already seen your dance moves. We need more.
Who'd have thought a ground strike could be so impactful? That's undeniably a striking achievement.
All right, next we're going to talk about a game that some people have been waiting for, some people haven't. I'm in the haven't camp. That game is Crackdown 2. Miguel, you handled the review of this game. What did I say to you after I checked the review yesterday before I went live?
This game looks like shit.
Direct quote.
Well, my favorite moment was after Miguel had finished the game, realizing that it was actually a full retail game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I for a while I was playing it, I thought that it was going to be. I didn't think it was an actual discount game, but I thought it wasn't going to. It's one of those that wasn't going to be full price. But anyway,
Because it looks like it should be.
Well, I
the game
wasn't.
kind of reminds me of this generation State of Emergency. It's like the
You know
character
what?
models are just real basic, and like the action's real. I don't know. It just looks janky.
I stand by my score. I think that game was fun, and
Well, it's not like you gave it a 9 or higher. I mean,
right. No, but I had a good time. I mean, what I said in the review is true. Even though you know that you're doing all this stupid shit, and you're not going to find anybody who's more ambivalent about collectibles and achievements than me. like I still found it hard to pull myself away after like 3 hours to go to lunch. You know, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna go jump 50 yards to get that next, juicy ability orb. And then, once you get that one, you see another one 500 feet away. So you go get that one. And then, you ground pound down and like you kill 50 people when you land.
It's the RPG element, right? You're a big RPG player.
It's that, yeah, it's that. But it's also just like the kind of unstructured, crazy stuff that goes on when you're basically on the quest for orbs. You just run into all of these obstacles that it's fun to take out, like once you get powered up to the level where you could really do damage, you'll have fun just running down the street, trucking a whole pile of zombies, and at the end there's like an assault vehicle, and you run into that and it flies 50 feet, and then you run to that and you pick it up and you throw it into traffic. Like it's that kind of game. It's kind
of
the
game reminds me a little bit of Prototype. But Prototype looks a lot better and it seems a lot more interesting.
It had a structure. Like this game is kind of one note in that all you're doing all the time is going crazy. And if you
kind of like real life,
you can't stop moving in that game.
Right.
Pretty much, the moment you stop moving is when you put yourself in a vulnerable position.
Right.
So yeah, it's
and through the course of all that, you sometimes find yourself next to objectives, and you just do it because it's there. But very rarely, I played the game mostly with Brooks.
Yeah,
and
the co-op was a lot of fun going through it together.
Yeah, and most of the time, like, you were like 5 miles away from me, and the only time I'd call you was when we'd find a co-op agility orb. Be like, hey Brooks, come over here. There's a co-op orb. Why don't you come get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I think very rarely it would be like, hey, all right, hey, let's go do this objective. I'm close to it. Come with me to do it. And then, we do that. And, 10, 12 hours later, we did the last one. It's like, oh shit, this game over. All there is to do now is get more juicers.
And I think we've established that co-op is the best way to play this game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's undoubtedly the most fun way to play. What is it like playing this game by yourself?
It's
from Brooks.
it sometimes feels the same.
Really?
Because you often when you're doing co-op, you're by yourself anyway. There's no I mean, there are mechanics that let you spawn closer to another player, but there is rarely a reason to do it unless
I don't really see any advantage having co-op throughout the game, and because like you said earlier, there's so much chaos going on, it never feels quiet enough.
Right.
If you don't have somebody near
and when
next to you.
when there's other people around you, it just amplifies the chance that you're gonna screw each other over inadvertently, right?
Oh yeah, especially when you get the heavier weapons in the end, and then the explosives and their explosive power. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So many times it's been like, man, what the fuck? I was about to kill some guy, and then your UV shotgun blasted me to the other side of the map, and then I had to spend 5 minutes coming back to where the fight was.
Yeah,
now, are there no objectives that require co-op, where you have to have those extra people, that extra firepower, or that extra person to stand on a switch, God forbid?
I think there are some that make it like. Basically, like the main objectives of the game are to assist these pulse bombs in these underground tunnels full of the mutated zombies, and some of those seem like they could get really hard if you don't do them co-op, but they still seem doable. And like I said, when we did those co-op, a lot of the time we'd be like tripping over each other's feet. And
those are some of the weakest zombies I've ever seen in a game that featured zombies. Like,
right, but at the same time, you're like, you're Demolition Man on crack in that game.
Yeah.
Like you could go to a 20-foot guy and like hit him with your fist, and he's gonna die eventually.
And the game had come out 3 years since, so it seems like it's been long enough where it's kind of nice to revisit that city, even though it's the same landscape and things have changed a little bit. I played the first one a lot, and I was still able to get back into this one.
Does this game look worse than the first Crackdown? Visually?
That's a case-by-case scenario. A lot of people say yes. I think it just looks the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the new
Doesn't
kind of
look any
like
better.
cell shade cartoony look is kind of to its detriment because it looks way.
It makes it look muddier.
Yeah.
It looks cheap a little bit, right? I don't know. It's not it's by no means anything cutting edge, but as far as like being a pure game where you could just get in and you're down for this monotonous experience. It's and it, not necessarily in a bad way, right? Like other games, even open world games, will kind of pace what they're having you do. They'll have quiet moments where you're driving somewhere, there's dialogue, and this is just like straight up bam, bam, bam all the time.
Yeah,
So it
came out
does a
in-
good job with like the IV drip. It's like just when you're like, okay, I'm there it is again.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you only have 20 minutes, it's fun. If you have like 2 hours, it's fun. And it came out in the middle of the summer, so they knew what they were doing. They're like, people aren't going to be playing much. They want that like explosive, Hollywood-ish kind of entertainment, and that's what it delivered.
Yeah.
So it's full priced at $59.
Yeah.
Who would you recommend buy this, Miguel?
I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, it's hard to recommend because it's there isn't much to it, and I said in the review, it kind of seems lazy. But I think people who are bored right now, who don't have any games to play, they'll have fun if they rent it. And, you know, if God forbid you buy it, there's plenty to keep you busy for a long time, right? Like there's also competitive multiplayer, which is, when you consider how crazy it could get in just regular single player co-op, it's kind of a joke, but it has its merits. You know, I played a lot of that with Brooks too, and there are some moments where it's kind of fun when you ground pound 5 guys and you see a shitload of points adding to your score.
Now, no incentive to buy this like there was last time with the Halo demo. It's just you're paying $60 for a Crackdown.
Yeah, for Crackdown. That's it. That's what you get.
The beacon's good to go, Agent. It's gonna be a hot time in the old town tonight. Well, now, you've detonated all beacons in Green Bay. There's an achievement. Quiet, isn't it?
All right, that's going to do it for episode 115 of Invisible Walls here on GameTrailers.com. I think we had some pretty interesting discussions today. I know the Blizzard message board discussion is sure to generate some interesting comments below. We'll definitely check those out and see what you guys think, although I think we can probably predict what a lot of the reaction will be. At any rate, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope everybody has an awesome weekend, and I hope that we sent you off in the right way. Invisible Walls is up and out.